And the first sign that someone put too much engine oil in your mower is that it'll smoke. All right, so I just picked up a lawnmower. I want to make this video to help some people out. We are moving, as you can tell, but I could not resist scooping this thing up. Guy wanted 30 bucks. I think what happened is he overfilled the oil. I'm going to show you, I've had this happen in the past. I picked up mowers for free or inexpensive like this one. You know, this is a probably $250 to $300 bagger Troy-Bilt new. They're junk. I mean, they're plastic carburetor kind of deals, but they have value and they work pretty well when they work pretty well. Point is, this is probably a $150 mower if I were to sell it used. So I just want to show you what I'm going to do in order to restore this back to running condition. So the first thing I do, either before I'm going to use my lawnmower or if I'm going to try and start a mower I just picked up, is I check the oil. And you can automatically tell that those two little lines, these two little dots right here, this dipstick goes in there just like a car engine. This arrow is the fill line, and that's the safe zone. So you got to have it at least at the bottom hole and ideally up to the top hole. But this is filled all the way up to here, which means it's got about a shit ton too much oil in it. So that's the first sign of, you know, that's probably a problem. So we're gonna check the gas. It's got no gas in it too, which is mildly alarming. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this mower over and I'll show you how to do it. Because there's no drain plug on these plastic carburetor style Briggs Stratton engines. There's no drain plug on the bottom at all, no matter how far you dig in. This style overhead valve, newer Chinese knockoff Craftsman, does not have a drain plug, no matter how hard you look. So we're going to drain out all this extra oil and top it off to the proper level, and then we'll start addressing the next issues. I'm going to get this bag out of the way too while I'm in here. All right, so I've got a little drain pan right here. I'm going to go ahead and pull my dipstick back out again. I'll set this thing off to the side, and then all I'm going to do is tip this thing on its side, try not to spill it, and drain out a good amount. Then we'll check it again. Another thing you can do, since there's no gas in the tank, that is usually a red flag that the float on the carburetor, you don't have to understand what I'm saying. Long story short is the carburetor is continuing to tell the engine that it needs fuel when it does not. So if you were to leave your lawnmower stored and the carburetor was in the improper position, the gas from the tank could drain through the carburetor and either drip out, and just drip on the ground, and you'd smell gas every time you went into the into your garage or near your lawnmower. Or even worst case, it could drain the gas through the carburetor and into the crankcase, filling where you're supposed to have engine oil with both engine oil and gasoline. What that does is you can actually take this, rub it on your fingers, and hold up to your nose. It smells just like oil. You can get a pretty heavy smell of gasoline if that is the case. So based on the viscosity and condition of this oil, it does not lead me to believe that there is gasoline in our crankcase. So that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on a level spot and ensure I've got it in the safe zone for oil level height. All right, now that we've got our engine oil to the proper height, we checked it on a level surface, ensured that we're right in the safe zone there, right about there. There we go. Just barely see it. Starting to drip back, but I am almost perfect. I'm gonna put a little bit of gas in this thing. I already went ahead and did that. It takes just regular gas because it's a 4-cycle engine. And the first sign that someone put too much engine oil in your mower is that it'll smoke. A perfectly good running lawnmower, if it's got too much oil, it's like choking it. It's like trying to go swimming in the pool with your COVID mask on. You just not a good mix. Ooh, it's still spitting oil out of there. So what happens first is it starts to smoke, and then it'll foul the spark plug. So right behind this spark plug wire here, if I can get this off with one hand, there's our spark plug. Threaded into the head of the block. Oh, it's already loose. That's not a good sign. Let's see. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this out. It would require a spark plug wrench, which is super easy and inexpensive to come by. Yeah, this thing's oil log. So I'm gonna bring this over to my handy dandy workbench, and this is the spark plug I picked up to replace this one. Champions are great plugs. NGK are my favorite. They're just, for whatever reason, they seem to run forever. Just go to a lawnmower shop and get the proper spark plug for your mower. I know that this one works for mine, and it should work for all styles that are this brand, but do not hold me to it. But if you want to risk it and use what I use, here it is. Now we know that the engine was smoking, which is usually an indication that there's some internal engine problem, or there's way too much oil and it's, the engine oil level is above what it's supposed to be. All that oil is getting pumped up past the, well, in this case, pumped past the piston and into the combustion chamber, hence smoking. So we don't want that to happen. But one thing I'm going to do before I refoul a brand new spark plug is I'm going to turn this engine over now that I know that it's got oil in it. So I'll pull the rope and just make sure there's not oil puking out of the spark plug hole or anything crazy like that. If there is, we would just continue to pull it until the majority of that is out. So, just as I had thought, there's a shit ton of oil still inside the spark plug hole. It shot a whole bunch out. It's still dripping out. So I'm going to continue to pull this until the majority of this is out. And when I go to start this lawnmower, hopefully it'll cooperate. When I go to start this lawnmower, it will probably still smoke for a little bit, even with the new spark plug oil, until all of the remnants of the engine oil in the combustion chamber has burned itself out. And that's not a bad thing. So all you're doing is lubricating your engine. Should you do that for long periods of time? No. Would I recommend doing this? No. But is this a good solution for someone who decided they wanted to overfill their engine oil? Yes, definitely the move. So let's get into it. We're going to keep pulling this over, and we'll just take a towel and wipe out, all the stuff that pukes out off the deck, and then we'll send it and put our spark plug in there, and we'll tighten it up. I'll show you what spark plug wrench I use, and then we'll go from there. So if you want to nerd out for a second, this is what a brand new spark plug looks like. It's all clean. The I forgot what it's called, but that white piece inside is white because it has not yet burned. This is a fouled spark plug. It's black. It's oily, it's all nasty. It probably will not make any spark, which is probably why this mower won't run. There's a chance that there's still so much residual oil in there that we're going to foul this plug while cleaning out the new plug. And if it comes to that, I've spent another $5 and bought another spark plug to alleviate that possibility. But we're gonna spread this sucker in. These are what I like to call peanut style spark plugs. I've got a big Craftsman toolkit here, which solves all my problems, but you don't really need this. All you need is this style. It's a 5/8 spark plug wrench. There's a little rubber fitting inside there so you don't damage the spark plug when you put a socket over it. You could use just a regular 5/8 socket, but it's not recommended. They also make inexpensive spark plug wrenches like this. So you just slide this on kind of like that, and then you just stick a screwdriver in the end and use it as a wrench instead of using a fancy socket, ratchet and extension. But we're gonna do it the fancy way. Now when you go to thread this spark plug hole into the head of the engine up here, it's super important to note that this is kind of on an angle. It's sort of downward and to the left. So you always want to start your spark plug in the threads. I'm going to use my other hand. Actually, don't drop these, because if you bend this, then it might not work as well as it's supposed to. So don't do what I did. We're going to thread this in there by hand first. That way we don't take the chance of stripping these super fine threads by torquing on it with a wrench if the threads aren't lined up properly. So thread this all the way on. Goes in there super far. And you could torque this. I don't know what it is. I like to just call it two ugga-duggas. So we'll just tighten this up a little bit, and then we'll get a little bit of resistance, tight. And then important is there's a little metal prong inside there. That prong sits inside here. So slide the rubber piece on first, and then you'll hear a bloop, and it should pop right on. So we've got gas. Hopefully we've got spark. And all we need is combustion. So we're gonna go ahead and see if this thing wants to cooperate and run. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna use, if I can find it, a little can of starting fluid. This is like $3 at a any store basically. Might even be able to get it at a gas station. Let's see if I can find it. I'll grab it for you guys. Ta-da! Does not have to be this brand. I got this one from Napa. You can get them anywhere. It's just a can of ether. It's basically very similar to gasoline, but in aerosol form, and it burns. So we're gonna take this lawnmower out of my garage and away from any other obstacles, and we're gonna shoot just a tiny bit of starting fluid in this little hole right here. There's a little valve in there, so we're gonna move that out of the way and shoot some starting fluid in there, and that'll kind of keep us from having to shoot, pull the rope a whole bunch of times. We'll get instant satisfaction. All right, moment of truth. So that's that residual oil I was telling you about. And hopefully it'll stop smoking after it burns that crap off. Ooh, it's still spitting oil out of there. It's running great. Oh, here we go. Look at that. The whole exhaust is full. Take this thing in the grass. Stop smoking. Stay tuned, I will let you know. A couple minutes later, almost no more smoke. Just burning off that little bit of crap, and we've got ourselves a good running lawnmower. Pretty cool. Alright, one last important thing to do. Now that the mower's cooled off and the oil has gone back to its proper level, we're gonna come out here and just clean this off one last time and check the oil, make sure it didn't burn any during that process, and we are at the perfect height. Let's see, right there, exactly what we need. Awesome. So we got ourselves a $150 lawnmower now. We'll wash it up and use it, mow the lawn, and maybe we'll sell it. Pretty cool.